Welcome to the family with
Andy Brant Barnard.
And of course, Josh Arnold will be in any minute. Officer Dave will not be in today as his lazy ass is up camping in northern Minnesota.
That's right. Just
Big
like
shot.
Everybody else.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that time of the year. You start heading up north, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
No question. But yeah, Josh will be here any minute. Got a great guest coming up right at, 10:30?
Yeah, 10:30. That's what I've got on my calendar here.
Adam Carolla will join us, longtime supporter of the show. I mean, that guy's been terrific to me forever. Just a really, really good guy. Adam Carolla joining us right at the bottom of the hour. But
wait.
What?
Oh, it's next Friday.
Oh, it's not today?
He's been rebooked like 5 times.
I know
now.
he has.
It's been getting very, but no, it's next Friday for sure, unless something goes wrong. But,
okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for pointing that out.
He was going to be last Friday, and then this Friday he was going to be on Tuesday. But I think we got it locked down now.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, so next Friday, there you go.
A restaurant is going viral for banning everyone under 30. Have you heard about this at all, Andy? I mean, you're 30, what, 38?
Yeah, I'm going to be in a few months.
A couple of months, yeah. There a lot of, from what I understand now, this is from other people, not from me, but from what I understand, this has got a very common practice, especially at some nice higher end restaurants. They really don't want anybody under 30 coming into their restaurants because they just don't behave. I guess.
No Zoomers policy.
Some businesses will do anything to be popular with 20-somethings, but one place is going viral for not letting them in the door. There's a new upscale Caribbean restaurant in Missouri called Bliss, and it has an interesting policy. They've set an age restriction, which requires that male guests, to be at least 35 and women to be 30 during prime hours. They do card at the door, and people in their 20s will be kept out. The owner admits they've been getting a little backlash, but that's cool. They're sticking with it. And he says they are strict because young people have been trying to sneak by and post about it in social media. The manager says Bliss is just something for older people. Have a happy hour, come get some food, and not have to worry about some young folks who bring some of that drama. And the owner adds, we want to ensure a mature, sophisticated, and safe dining environment for everyone. So what they're saying is that young people just can't control themselves, that they act like assholes in the restaurant.
Not untrue.
I mean, do they really act poorly in restaurants too? I
mean, if you think about people getting drunk and screaming and breaking things, it's going to be like early 20s. I think by 30, generally speaking, you've grown out of that.
Yeah, I would think so. Well, for women, they want the men to be 35, not even just 30. They want the men to be 35. The women can be 30.
Yeah, that seems strange.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, but I guess I understand. I don't know. I just, you don't want people acting like jackasses in your restaurant.
Yep.
Because then other people are going to go, well, remember last time you were there, the guy caused a problem, and you might not want to go back. So, it's just the way it is.
Oh, sounds like we got Josh out there.
Josh and somebody on the phone with him.
Yeah, apparently.
Unbelievable. What are you going to do? But whatever.
I think there he is.
Oh, really? Okay, Elvis.
Okay, where do
you're supposed to sit? Right there. Right there is where you're supposed to sit. You can have some raisins even if you want.
Well, I like raisins.
I do too. It's interesting. We were talking about this morning because Tevin hates raisins. And I said, it's always been that way. People either love them or hate them.
Oh, I love them.
I used to love them, but
now he might say, "Oh, you called me a raisin?"
Yeah.
He says it's
no, it's true. It's a very good point.
Okay.
Raisin in the Sun was a great movie.
It was a horrible movie. I thought it was the most boring thing.
Oh, you big baby! Put your headphones on.
Every summer we had to watch. We had to watch that at summer camp.
Wow! Oh, at summer camp. Well, I understand why you'd hate it then.
Okay, and that came in. That was the second movie. First movie was the first night we were at camp.
Mm-hmm.
There you are,
Johnny Tremaine.
Well, Johnny Tremaine, yeah, sure.
Which was just tremendous. A real American movie.
Yeah.
You got all kinds of background from the Revolutionary War, the start of the Revolutionary War. The next week, we had to watch Raisin in the Sun. It's in black and white.
Yeah, it was black
with
and
Sidney
white.
Poitier.
Yeah.
And it sounded like everybody was mumbling.
Yeah, I remember that. You're
I was
right.
like, oh, I've got to watch this very depressing movie.
That's true. It is very depressing. You're right about that. Sidney Poitier, he died. He just died a couple years ago, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, but that was just a very depressing movie, and I know that they've redone the movie.
Oh, they have.
So I'm not sure who is starting in it, but
Is it called this time? Really, still a grape in the sun?
no, it's still a Raisin
prequel.
in the Sun.
It's not a raisin yet.
Yeah, it's not a raisin yet.
Sidney Poitier died 2 years ago at the age of 94.
Yeah, 2 years ago. I
So,
remember that.
It's a good run.
What a great actor that man was. He changed the movie business forever.
He was tremendous.
He really was good. No question about that. No doubt about it. So what's new in your world, pal?
Oh my gosh, we got all kinds of stuff that's new.
This is good, I'm assuming.
Well, we can start with things that could be good.
Okay.
Somebody could say it could be bad. Initially, the market did not respond very well to the jobs number that came out today.
270 or something?
Yeah, 273,000
Yeah.
new jobs that were created or added to the economy, which was almost 100,000 more than had been expected.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that was a big number.
So question I have for you is, are these good jobs in general, or are they all over the board?
Well, if you're going to call, and the jobs primarily were.
There you go. Let's have another cigarette.
Yeah, let me just puff on that right there.
He doesn't smoke. I'm lying.
Yeah, no,
Anyway.
I've never smoked. I've never smoked in my life.
See, there you go.
But the jobs primarily were in healthcare,
Oh, so that's good.
but that is not high-end healthcare.
Oh, then that's not
Okay,
good.
it's not high-end healthcare jobs, but it's in, broadly speaking, healthcare, which could be somebody taking care of my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law has full-time nursing care in his house.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we went from, so he has now 3 women working for him. So he just had, he had 2 before, now he has a 3rd. Okay, so that's a healthcare worker. She is not getting paid. Well, I think she's maybe getting paid $25 an hour.
Okay.
Which somebody could say, well, that's a good wage. Maybe not a good wage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's one group. The next group is government workers. So government workers is just behind healthcare workers.
Right.
And then the third large group of workers is hospitality. So waiters, waitresses,
right. Yeah.
dishwashers, and those are not high-end.
No, they're not.
High-end jobs. There were some professional services jobs that were added. And it's just that time of year you're going to get more construction jobs being added. Construction jobs are higher end workers for the most part. Manufacturing workers were down. Retail workers, again, not a high paying job compared to podcast hosts, compared to investment advisors.
There you go.
Or radio and TV producers.
Right.
But retail jobs were down for the month, and then the overall unemployment rate went up.
The unemployment rate went up.
The unemployment rate went up. People stopped looking. People who had been looking for work stopped.
Yep.
And the number of part-time workers actually increased.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll say somebody was doing 2 podcasts, now is only doing 1 podcast.
Okay. That would be me someday.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Maybe. So it was to me, it was very mixed. Plus, the April jobs number was revised downward. All of this,
okay.
and then we add to it, wages were up a little bit.
Right.
Now, of course, wages are up. If I'm looking at the people who are employed, their wages could be up just because inflation is up a little bit. So you're going to get that kind of an increase. Different unions, their contracts might have come through, and they're going to get a higher wage rate. All that meant, at least to the market, that if you thought that interest rates were going to be cut at next week's Fed meeting, you've got another thing coming to you. The likelihood of the Fed cutting interest rates right now with this type of jobs number has been reduced, and the likelihood of interest rates being cut this year now has also been reduced somewhat.
Okay.
Now, this is a little bit of a dichotomy because the EU is talking about cutting interest rates, and Canada earlier this week cut interest rates. So the market players were thinking, oh, well, if Canada is cutting rates, Europe is going to be cutting rates. Shouldn't the United States start cutting rates before the economy goes into a stall? But then the jobs number comes out and says, oh, while unemployment has ticked up, something the Fed is looking for, there are more people working.
So
now, to me, more people working, it's very weird. More people working is a good thing.
I have no question.
Should more people be working in the private sector as opposed to the government sector? Yes. Because then that gets to the point, well, if there are more government workers, somebody said, well, government workers are producing things. Regulation, oversight, as opposed to somebody coming up and creating a business that's going to create more jobs that can boost productivity in the marketplace.
God, that's so amazing. Did the internet kick this whole thing off where some people are going to eventually be working on the internet from their houses, so that's where I want to be. I mean, did it affect jobs greatly when it came along? Or
I think it just changed the type, the manner and type of work. If you were an information worker, so I'm an investment advisor, I need and depend on a lot of information. I am not going out and building. I'm not building a building.
Right.
Okay. My son is a real estate developer. He builds buildings. He's building apartment complexes, condominiums, and building houses. You're building something. You're employing all manner and type of construction jobs. You're building something.
Right.
Yes, he needs information. It makes it easier for him using the internet to design work or and to communicate with workers, provided, of course, they're either on the internet as a way, instead of calling somebody, he can blast a letter or some message to a whole group of workers instantaneously using the internet. So that helps him in his real estate development in terms of communication. I use the internet. It makes it easier to access all kinds of information that helps in my decision making, whether we want to buy a stock or buy a company, sell a company, based on the information that I'm able to process fairly quickly using the internet.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What do you think of all this, Andy?
I mean, I think the internet was, like, the idea of working from home was kind of not a thing for a very long time because the internet was just so slow for so long.
Yeah.
It only really has become like a big thing in the past, I don't know, maybe 10 years. As speeds got high enough that you can do Zoom and that sort of thing. But I mean, it's still, there's a lot of things. It depends on your industry. There's a lot of things that you just can't do from home, of course. But there's a lot of jobs that there's really no reason to go into the office, I don't think. I mean, if you think about it, radiologists have been working from home for ages because what they do is they'll get the files uploaded to them. They have these special gigantic monitors at home that they look through the scans, and then they send their reports in. But then other doctors, of course, if you're meeting patients and stuff, you got to meet patients. You got no option there.
Yeah, I mean, this show wouldn't exist without the internet. Obviously, this podcasting
Absolutely.
came along because of that. Everything was radio before that.
I've been a big one for the internet dating back to the early 90s.
Yeah.
To me, I looked at it as this is cable television.
Yeah. Yep.
2.0.
I mean, basically, yeah, it's the same cable as cable television even.
And I remember going to a conference that was hosted by a company out in Denver called Jones Intercable, which company was founded by Glenn Jones, was out in Denver, and he wrote several books on the growth of cable and where it was going.
And this is what period?
This was late 80s, early 90s. Well, probably early 90s.
Early 90s, yeah.
So I had looked at I did very well investing in cable television related companies in the 80s, and I was looking for something to replace that. What's the next step? Because it looked to me like cable was going to become like a utility.
Yeah,
in terms of except instead of prices going up, prices actually went down for a long period of time until there was a lot of consolidation, and then prices started drifting up. But that was because you were paying for, I'll say, the entertainment beyond news and weather. We'll say news, weather, and then sports, and along comes ESPN.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so now I've got ESPN, and they offer specialized sports packaging or access to more sports than ABC, NBC, or CBS could provide. And they said, oh, to offer this, we're going to charge more money. So the cable companies would put that in a package because people wanted live sports.
Oh, absolutely. No question. I remember, as a matter of fact, I lived across the street from the Lincoln Dell on Minnetonka Boulevard, and this new thing came out called HBO. I went, oh, got it. So what year would that have been? That would have been around 1980.
Probably I'd probably been in the early 90s as well.
Early 90s as well?
72.
72?
Yeah. Oh, the cable's been out for a long time.
Well, no, HBO has been. Yeah.
HBO's been in 72. That was 1970. Oh, so I was 21 years old.
It didn't really become a big thing until much later, though.
Home Box Office is what it was called back then, too. It was not HBO. But I remember getting it. So I must have been 21 years old then, because that's, God, I would have thought I would have been my mid to late 20s. I know it's a long time ago, but I didn't know it was that soon. But
people, I'm sure you didn't have it when it first came out, because it's expensive even now.
Well, I know, but
you'd have to have been be on cable.
Mm-hmm. It was a building of rental units.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know much about HBO until it was well after we moved here in 75.
It also might not have been available, in this area until much later.
You know what? I think you're right. I think it was 1977 now that I think of it. So it was 4, 5, 6 years after it started. I think it was about 1977.
That was a separate tier that you had to pay for.
Yeah, it was initially only available to subscribers of teleservice cable in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania,
so,
there you go.
That'll be why.
Yeah, 77 makes more sense. But you know what a dream it was to walk across the street, buy my dinner at the Lincoln Dell, go home and watch HBO. It was like I thought I was a very special guy.
Well, you would have been.
Oh God, it was phenomenal.
The question was, how long did you have to wait to get your dinner at the Lincoln Dell?
Oh, it was a little busy. There's no question about that. But I got to know the family really, really well. And matzo ball soup, man. I will never get over matzo ball soup. I just love it. God, isn't it wonderful?
Well, their matzo balls, There was no soup. You just got this monster.
Yeah, that's
there was no soup.
A little bit of broth, but that's about it.
Gosh, that matzo ball was always good.
Yep.
I mean, nobody could make a matzo ball that was that good, that consistent all the time.
Danny Barenberg, he sent me a message every holiday season, whether it was Passover, it was Christmas, whatever it was. But Danny Barenberg used to send me cards every year.
When you were down in Florida, did you ever run into him?
No, because I was in Jacksonville.
Oh,
I was in Jacksonville. I think he was down around mid-state somewhere.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure. I don't think he went to the West Coast, though. Maybe he did, but I don't know. But always a really, really nice guy.
Just a prince of a guy.
Yeah, really good guy. The whole family actually was very nice. And now it's an Edina Realty office, isn't it? The one I'm talking about?
Yes, that's the one you're talking about.
They still have the deli in there. Because there was another deli right around the corner. Elijah's, I think it was called.
No, let's see. We had the Boulevard.
The Boulevard was down on.
That was further down.
Further west, yeah.
And there was one that was like a block away. And that was.
God, it was great.
That you could always get into. The line wasn't as long.
Yeah, I understand.
It was like, oh, that's just the overflow.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But great memories of that whole deal. But yeah, having home box office back in the day, nobody knew what the hell it was. So what was the first year it was available here in the Twin Cities, Andy? Do you have that info?
I don't think I can find that out.
But it's got to be about 77, I would say, maybe even 78. But because I just came back from Jacksonville, as a matter of fact, and that's why I moved into that spot and bought a brand new car, brought it home. Somebody ran into it the day I bought it, put a big dent in the side of it. It's like, thanks, I just bought this car, so I really appreciate it. No question about it. But what else is happening in the world, pal?
What else is happening in the world? Well, since I just focus on those things, you have the jobs number. Interest rates are probably not going to come down.
Right.
Then you've got. We've got no. I don't even. I maybe I should go here because I have all these things marked down.
I see that. Yes,
I've got everything marked down. This came out yesterday, and I just had to shake my head. Okay, the Department of Justice and the FTC said that they're now investigating. Here's who they're going to investigate. We've already decided we're going to go after Live Nation and Ticketmaster as a monopolist.
That's right.
Okay, that was a week ago. A few weeks before that, we're going to go after Apple and Amazon as monopolists.
Okay.
We're going to go after Google as a monopolist because they monopolize search. Okay, and Microsoft was leading the charge to go after Google because as dominant in search because Microsoft Bing can't compete. Bing only has 5% of the search market.
Really, only 5%? That's it? Man.
Well, and Google has 90% of search.
Okay.
Why does Google have 90% of search? Yes, they do pay and have paid companies like Apple and Samsung and others to be the default search engine.
Okay.
In the case of Apple, Google has been paying Apple to be the default search engine since 2004.
Man.
Okay, so that's a long time. And currently, Google pays Apple about $20 billion a year.
A year.
Correct.
And that's just for one. That's just for Apple.
That's just for Apple to be the default search engine.
I don't have that much money.
Well, not in your right pocket, maybe your left pocket.
Yeah, maybe I should look.
Just take a look. And next week we're going to find out a little bit more about what Apple is doing, we'll say with Google and or OpenAI when they have their Worldwide Developers Conference on Monday. And that'll start with Tim Cook's keynote speech. So a lot is riding on this speech and what Apple is going to be doing with artificial intelligence, and it'll probably be led by Siri and some updates with Siri. So it's going to be very interesting. Apple stock currently trading at 195. And depending on the outcome of this speech and how excited investors are, Apple could rise a little bit, or in all likelihood, Apple will probably pull back on Monday on a sell the news reaction before it starts moving back up. But the government said, the leaders in artificial intelligence, we think they are already a monopoly. So we're investigating NVIDIA, which is the chip manufacturer, and manufactures the high-speed chips. They're first used for gaming, and then for cryptocurrency mining, and then now for generative AI. And they are leaps and bounds ahead of other chip companies in developing these high-speed graphic processing units that are used for, or are going to be used for, generative AI. And they've been selling a lot of them. The stock is zoomed up this year, and on Monday, they'll start trading after a 10-for-1 stock split.
Okay.
So they're going after NVIDIA. They're also looking at Taiwan Semiconductor, because Taiwan Semiconductor manufactures the chips for NVIDIA as well as several other companies, but they're looking at Taiwan Semiconductor as being a monopolist. And then they're going to be looking at OpenAI, so privately held company, but they've been the lead in generative artificial intelligence. And then they're going to be looking at the big guy, Mr. Softy.
Mr. Soft.
MSFT, Mr. Softy.
Yeah, there you go.
And Andy's thinking, yeah, I could hear the little music. Didn't you like that when you were growing up? The Mr. Softy truck or the Good Humor truck showing up every summer night. You know, it could have been in my neighborhood. They showed up around 7 o'clock at night, running up and down the street.
Tyre Carver, who listens to this show every day, has an ice cream truck.
Oh, okay.
Phenomenal. That's all I have to say.
We like that.
We do like that a lot.
But the government's looking at them because they are dominant in, or the leaders in generative artificial intelligence, and the government doesn't want them to become the monopoly in AI. Apple is still behind.
Oh, okay.
These companies. Amazon is behind. Google might be a little behind, but I'm not so sure. But I just say, what is this? Companies that have developed technology and are now leading in a new technology are doing that because they're spending the money and hopefully to get others to follow. They don't have 100% of the market. They're just right now the leaders. Now somebody could say, well, Microsoft had through their software is now integrating artificial intelligence through. They have a product called Copilot that you have to pay extra for.
Right.
Not everybody is going to use Copilot. But I just said, okay, here we go. Let's come up with some interesting twist on a law or an interpretation to go after these companies, because that's really what they're going to have to do. You can't say we're going to change the criteria from does the consumer benefit to this to
right.
We want quote unquote more competition.
Here's what I don't understand. when it all started, everybody had a chance to step in.
Right.
So why is that Microsoft's fault?
It's not Microsoft's fault.
No, it's ridiculous.
They took the lead with open AI, and it started, to me, it started a year ago.
Okay.
Prior to that, you wouldn't have heard of generative AI or artificial intelligence. It's been available. It's been around for a very long time. It's been used for a long time. But here, because of the, we'll say something, the horsepower that's now available through the internet, and some of the technology that's become available, and the high-speed chips that are available, and this newer company, OpenAI, which developed a product called ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah.
Which again, here's the internet. It's making these types of products make it easier for information workers and maybe others to get more accomplished in a shorter period of time. So that to me is, you know, a potential for increase in productivity. That said, it's this is going to work on information that's already available. So if you have shit in, you're going to get shit out.
Right. No, I understand that. Absolutely. But I mean, Microsoft, like we already talked about, they didn't prevent anybody else from getting into business. So if you wanted to get into business, you could have gotten into business.
Right.
So I don't really understand how you can go after somebody. If nobody else wanted to do it, how is that my fault?
Well, it's your fault. You're
it just is.
It just is. We want more. You know, the government says we want more players in this industry, and we want to have a little bit more control of what's going on in the industry.
Okay, you just answered my question. It's the control part of it. That's what it's all about. Is they want to control it.
So we want the power. We want power over you.
Yes, exactly.
It's not necessarily what's good for consumers and/or what consumers want.
Right.
I mean, it's like, okay, we're going after Google as a monopolist because they're preventing other people from getting in the business. No, they didn't prevent anybody from getting in the business. They were late to getting into the search business. They were not the first player around.
Right.
Google was not dealing in search, I don't think, until the early 2000s. God. And the money that went into Google came from other search companies like AOL.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, when Google went public, the major selling shareholder was AOL.
Yeah.
At about $100 a share.
And
that's before all the splits that have taken place.
When did you first get the internet out there, out in Dayton? Would you remember what year that were? How old you were?
I was 99, I think. So I was 11 or 12.
What, are you attacking me?
I'm going to attack you.
He's going to pull. He's pulling a knife, man.
I'm going to attack you. Little me is going to attack big you.
Okay, works for me. Because the reason I asked Andy that is 1999, so you were 12 years old.
It was around then, yeah.
Or 11, maybe, even still. But I will never forget. It took forever for something to come out on the screen because it went line by line. So if you're going to put a picture up on a screen using the internet, it took how long, Andy? About a half an hour to get the whole picture up?
Well, for pictures, it wasn't that long.
It wasn't.
It was
long.
Minutes. It was long. It was several
video
minutes.
You were not going to be getting.
Video was impossible. No, there was a specific. So there's this game called Underlight that came out in '98, and I saw like an ad for it or something, and I thought it looked super interesting.
Right.
So I went to download it, and I started the download, and of course at the time we had dial-up. So
yes,
if you're downloading something, no one can pick up the phone. You can't really use the computer. You have to just let it download. It downloaded for, I think, 6 hours.
Oh, God.
And the download failed at like 95%.
Oh, God.
And I was like, you know what? I don't need to play Underlight.
You don't really
and
need
that's
to.
how dial-up was. If you want, and the game was probably like 50 megabytes. You know, it would download in seconds today. But back then, it was an all-day thing. And if anything went wrong, it was gone forever.
One of my favorite things about that, and this is a true story. So this is Andy's 11 years old. One of his neighborhood buddies comes over. And I don't know, Andy went to the bathroom, or I don't know what the hell went on. But this kid sits down and he did a little typing.
Right.
I walk over about, I don't know, probably 10 minutes later. First time I've ever seen pornography on a screen. He downloaded a picture of a naked woman. Took forever to get up there.
Well, there's a.
Why did this kid could have come over to my house? I have my. Okay, here you go. My mother. You love my mother.
Yeah, I love your mother. That's
my mother is an artist, or was an artist, all over my house growing up.
Oh, really?
Nudes
everywhere.
Everywhere you looked.
Men and women?
Just women.
Oh, just women. Thank God.
Just women all over our house in different colors and different poses.
Really?
I grew up with that.
Well, it's the human body. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, they're just gorgeous pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I have in my house up. I have a nude that she did for my grandfather, her father-in-law.
Okay.
That he had in his den until he passed away. And then I acquired that picture, which I still have in my house.
Oh, really?
Done in 1948.
1948?
Yep.
Was it anybody in particular she was copying?
Have no idea who this woman was. It's a gorgeous picture, and I probably should have it rematted.
Oh, you should. Okay.
So but that's from 1948.
So
I never looked at any of this stuff as naked women as being porn.
Well, the only reason we ever did is because of religion, correct? I mean,
I don't know.
Do you think even before that?
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on the context.
Well, I suppose.
I mean, but a lot of people used to say, "Oh, you have a subscription to Playboy? How does your mother allow you to have porn?"
That's right. It was porn.
I'm thinking, porn?
Porn.
What kind of porn is there? There are pictures. There are pictures of women in, we'll say, in bikinis and lingerie, and they were showing a little bit more. The cartoons in Playboy were much better than the cartoons in the New Yorker.
Oh, I think. Then you had Penthouse, and then Hustler.
Well, now you're starting to lean.
Really leaning.
Now we're starting to
There's nothing
lean.
artistic about Hustler, from
And
what I
you
understand.
probably hung out at Schindler's in the back room.
You had to go through the gate.
Yeah.
You had to go through the gate to get back there. I'll never forget that.
I went to Schindler's to buy Pokemon cards.
The whole different deal.
Yeah, that's you and my sons went to Schindler's, and there was a Schindler's in Edina.
I think that's the one we went to.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So they would go there to get baseball cards and Pokemon cards, and they would be trading, and then occasionally Judd, son number 2, would wander to the back of the store and go through.
Sure.
Dad, what is this?
Well, there you go. What was the Homer Simpson one again, Andy? When he went into the porn store, through the gates back into the porn section of the magazine store. Oh, Jerkules. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
The movie was called Jerkules.
The one I'm thinking of is Mo goes to an adult bookstore, so he goes back into the adult section.
Yeah.
And so, it says, adult books for adults only. And it's a bunch of like extremely dry novels. Bride's head's gonna get revisited tonight, baby.
That's a good call right there. No doubt about it.
Okay, so now we've covered the Fed.
Yeah.
We've covered the government. Now we'll have something very interesting that will be coming up.
Oh, he flipped it over, ladies and gentlemen.
Over.
He flipped it over.
Because I know that Andy is no longer day trading.
No longer?
He's no longer following.
I made my millions. I'm
okay.
good.
You're no longer following Roaring Kitty.
What the hell is that?
Here it is. I think that Andy, because he is young, he's on the internet, knows who Roaring Kitty is. Huh. Okay, how about the Mimi stocks? Do you remember those?
Like GameStop?
There we go.
Hey,
GameStop. We're back.
Touchdown.
Okay, touchdown. There we go. We're back. Okay, take a look at the trading over the last couple of weeks in GameStop. Market symbol GME.
Wow, it is back.
It is back.
It went from $10 to $48 in about a month. Yeah.
This stock is all over. There are about 300 million shares outstanding in GameStop. Here's a company that is not making, well, they're not making any money.
Right.
Their sales over the last year are down 29%.
Really? Yeah, GameStop has not been doing well as a company.
GameStop is not done well for a very long period of time.
No.
This guy Roaring Kitty several years ago during COVID, when people were at home, started accumulating both shares and options in GameStop.
Okay.
And this became a thing. We're going to go after the shorts.
Yep. There was a hedge fund that was going to, somehow they knew that this hedge fund was going to short GameStop.
No, they were already shorting it. I mean, this is all public. It's public information.
Yeah. So they all got together and they were like, let's screw over this hedge fund.
Yeah. So we're going to screw over this guy. And they started buying up the shares and the shares went up. The hedge fund guy was forced to cover at a higher price.
Ooh.
And lost a lot of money for the hedge fund.
Well, so here's how that went. In July 17th, it was worth 99 cents a share. January 29th, it was worth $81 a share.
And then we're talking about in
2020 and 21.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's got to be one of the biggest spikes in history.
Okay. Now, this thing eventually went down. Whoever collected their money is off. Well, a few weeks ago, there's a picture on the internet of the Roaring Kitty that says, "I'm back." And there's a screenshot of his positions in GameStop. And supposedly he has acquired 120,000 options at $20 a share, or $20 options. He paid pennies on the dollar for these in GameStop. GameStop stock, when this was announced, was about $15 a share. It zoomed up on this announcement to about $69 a share.
Jesus, that's amazing.
Then went down. I think it closed trading that day.
It went from 48. So it went from 10 to 48, down to 18, and then back up to 46.
Okay.
And now it's gone down today by
well, let me just tell you where it was last night. And after hours trading, the stock closed yesterday at $46 a share. It had been bid up because Roaring Kitty is going to do a YouTube live stream on YouTube at 11 o'clock today, 11 o'clock this morning.
So is that Eastern time?
Well, it's noon Eastern time, 11 o'clock our time.
Oh, so you get 25 minutes.
So, okay. So you could watch what he's going to say. And after hours, the stock went to 69.
Jesus.
So at that price last night, with the price of his options, he was worth close to 1B. God. Now, this morning, okay, so somebody was buying this stock in after hours all the way up to $69 a share. This morning, GameStop, the company, comes out before the market and says, we're announcing our earnings several days before we were going to, which would be, they're supposed to announce it next Tuesday, but they announced it this morning. We announced our earnings. We're losing money. Sales are down 29% year over year. And by the way, we're going to issue more shares. We're going to take advantage of this sales, the stock price run up. The stock opens trading today at $37 a share. So if you had purchased it in after hours at 69,
right,
and it opens up at 37, you've lost almost 50% of your money overnight. So I want to just point out that trading in both pre-market, so before the stock market opens, or in after hours, after the stock market closes, is, I'm not going to say for the stupid, but
well, that's nice.
But for those people who are going to get taken, because it's a very much an illiquid market. So wait for the market to open, and most times you'll be better served. There's a lot more liquidity, and there's a lot more money available, or more trading available. So the stock today has been all over the place, and trading has been halted numerous times. And I think the last time I looked, and maybe if the internet is working in the studio,
that'd be good,
we can find GME, and we are not recommending purchasing this stock.
Well, he's looking at there was a GameStop out there on what, 494 and County Road 9.
I don't know what
the one I can think of is on 55.
Oh, it's on 55. Okay.
Yeah, over by where the Dairy Queen used to be.
No, this is not. My phone is not picking up. Oh, here we go. We'll see if this works again. I have to. GME. Okay, GME currently is at 37.63. Says down 19% from yesterday's close. And we've only had 97 million shares traded today, which is just under a third of the float. That's a lot of movement in a company that is not doing very well.
I feel like someone is going to get in trouble for stock manipulation, because this seems, I don't know.
Well,
it seems a little strange to me.
Well, one, I don't think Roaring Kitty, I don't think he is an investment advisor or a broker. I don't think he is actively well, it may be considered he's recommending the stock because he's publishing his position, but he's not telling you to buy the stock. He's not telling you to sell the stock. He's just publishing his position. But my question is, if you have 120,000 options, okay, so 120,000 options. Let's see if I get my zeros correct. Each option is worth 100 shares. So if I put the pencil down and make sure that I get all the zeros as I work my abacus.
You can tell what era we're from because you just called a pen a pencil.
Another 100. So we'll redo the zeros. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so he is controlling 12 million shares.
12 million.
Okay, I do not think the guy's got enough money to convert his options, even if at $20,
Right.
to buy 12 million shares of stock. And I'm not sure if he was going to sell the options prior to expiration date, which is the third Friday of this month.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's enough people out there to go buy or wanting to buy those options. So he's put himself in a very illiquid position. And lastly, he says he has these options through, it's not TD Ameritrade, through one of the other online brokerage firms, which is now owned by Morgan Stanley. And I'm not sure that they would have allowed him to buy that many options,
right,
that all coming due at the same time at the same strike price.
God, that's what a business you're in. I'm telling you what, it's very quick moving, isn't it?
Well, it is quick moving, but it's also highly regulated.
Yeah.
So
I'm true, yeah.
I kind of question, who was looking actually at this account, and are these in fact real?
So why would he have done this? What was he trying to do?
Have no idea.
I don't either. I don't get it.
I have no idea on any of the Mimi stuff. And why would you pick a company that is I'll say that the likelihood of them being in business for a long time is pretty small.
Oh, that's not good news for them. So they might go, as they used to say in the neighborhood, tits up, huh?
Tits up, yes. I mean, but of course, somebody could say, well, they were supposed to go out of business a long time ago, and they're still here.
That's true.
And I've always looked at them and said, why?
Right.
How you've got high real estate, high rent wherever they are. They're not, and you're selling a product that is now available. Most of your product is available on the internet. You don't need a game machine anymore, unless you're playing very old games.
Well, I mean, they still do sell, PlayStations and stuff like that, but you don't buy the discs so much anymore. You can, but most people just buy them right off the store. You just buy them on your PlayStation.
I mean, that's what it was for, is to go get the discs at the beginning, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where most of their revenue came from.
You bring your old disc back and you trade it for a new disc.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's not a great, to me, that's not a
great
business model.
Well, so their revenue in 2023 was $5.2 billion. This is, pretty decent. Their net income was $6.7 million.
Whoa. What?
So
where did it all go?
Their operating income was minus $35 million. So I don't know. They've got a lot of expenses there that they're going to need to handle if they want to stay afloat for much longer. Because you don't survive for too long with negative 35 million operating income.
I don't see it. You're absolutely right.
So the point of all this is don't trade in products that you don't know nor understand. Do not invest in companies that have a long history of losing money.
It's not good. Yeah.
And so this has a company has a history, a long-term history of losing money. And they're in a declining business, not a growing business. So you have a companies like, we'll say, FanDuel, or my favorite, DraftKings. These guys are not making money, but they're in a growing business as opposed to a shrinking business.
Yeah, makes sense.
So stick with growing businesses. OpenAI, I'm not sure whether they're making a lot of money or not, because they're a privately held, but those companies that are involved in, we'll say, generative AI, typically are more growing businesses, even though at this point they might be losing dollars. So there's the potential for them at some point to make money. If that potential is not realized over a period of time, guess what? The stocks, people will sell the stock and it will go down.
Just move on.
And it will go down and you'll have to find out, to move on. The other instance is don't put all your money in those types of businesses. These are not businesses like Apple or Microsoft or Google or NVIDIA or even, Taiwan Semiconductors is a big business. But those companies do make money. We like that.
Indeed. That is going to do it for today. I got to mention something before we go, though. Tony Price, who's been on the show many, many times, and he's been listening forever and ever. He is speaking at the Gold Star Family Memorial Unveiling on Saturday, tomorrow at 11 a.m. in Zimmerman, Minnesota at Veterans Park. So thank you, Tony, for honoring our veterans. We appreciate that. And thanks for sending the message over. Any closing words, sir?
Well, yesterday was D-Day plus 80 years.
It was sad to see those guys because they're not going to be around for 90.
I don't think many of them are.
And when you look at that and you start thinking, I'll say in my neighborhood growing up, the number of dads.
Oh God.
Who were veterans of both World War II and Korea.
God, that's
even Korea vets are not very common anymore.
And you start looking, and geez, these were guys that were some were our teachers, a lot were our coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And very few talked about their experiences.
Yep.
Well, it's once we get to the Vietnam War, of course, those guys now, men and women, are in their 80s.
Yep.
Well, no, they're our age. We're not 80, but
but a lot of them are in their 80s. My brother Terry was
but people who served earlier, they were people who served in the early to mid 60s or
right.
Right. If they're not 80, they're approaching 80.
In 2015, the median age of a Vietnam vet was 68. So it's going to be 77 now.
77
so it's
now.
pretty close to 80,
Yeah. God, time's flying. But have we ever had a 20-year span where there was no violence that we got involved in America? Has it ever happened?
I guess before, like between the Civil War and World War I.
Yeah,
maybe.
There you
go.
No,
there were.
Oh, there were conflicts.
There were a lot of conflicts. I'm just thinking from the end of Vietnam. We still had conflicts.
Yeah.
In early 90.
We had all the Cuba stuff.
Yeah, the Cuba stuff was going on with Russia and all that.
And the Soviet, Cold War, which I guess wasn't technically violence, but I don't know. Wasn't good.
No question about it. All right, that is going to do it for another week. Look at you, all this info, what to do, what not to do. Those are good things.
Yeah, just pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention. You have some questions, call me at the office. 952-925-5608. You always get straight talk, not sugar-coated advice.
See, that's all you need to know, ladies
and
gentlemen.
From me, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold, and I'm here with Andy Barnard and the host with the most, Tom Barnard.
And by the way, Officer Dave will be back next week, right?
He is probably,
as far as I know, yes.
He is not camping. He is at the memorial service.
Oh, that's right. He's at the memorial service.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Officer Dave. Well, the little fella. That's what I call him. What is he, like 6'4", weighs about 310, and it's all muscle?
Guy is solid.
He is huge, man. One of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet, though. All right, boys. We'll talk to you next week.
Look forward to it.
Weekend.
this before. Every time I hear the same reminds me how you talking.